What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the MLB Swing for the Fences show. Already screwing up, man. Going here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel, talking Wednesday night's 9-game MLB slate. A little bit of an earlier start today, 6:40 Eastern time. Breaking down all the games as usual, and joined as usual on Wednesday afternoon by Mr. Travis Mangone. How you doing, Travis, on this Wednesday afternoon?
Yeah, we got some day baseball going on, and already a good start for me. I had a lot of Nick Pivetta. I talked about that in the Discord chat. JSU and I were just discussing. He said it's humid there in Boston. I said, you got to hit the ball to go out of the park, and good day for Nick Pivetta. And I don't know if Miles Mikolas got the job done for me. You were making fun of me for Mr. Mikolas. Let's see where he's at, DC. How did he end up on the day? Do you know?
He did better than my pitcher. I pitched the Braves guy. That did not go especially well. Yeah, it was
I'll take 16.5 for 6.3 innings. So
that's like Mikolas' ceiling. So happy ceiling game from Miles Mikolas there. Good stuff. Just played the one lineup early. Did not work out. It was one of those. Sometimes pretty early it's not going to be your day. It was one of those for me. No big deal. We're on to the late slate. We did have some members in RPS have a big night last night. Some big wins. I know Lycan 888 had a 30K score, and then KCMO 311 with a big day as well. And both of them wanted to give back to the RPS community. Absolutely love to see that. So we will run a competition during the show, giving away 2 $121 single entry tickets. You do need to be a member at RPS to be eligible to win. And the way we'll give these away, no Kevin Fallon roast this time. That didn't go so well last time we did it. So we're gonna scale it back a little bit. But the competition is you got to say what an RPS coordinator, could be me, Mangone, or Big T, anybody else on the RPS team. What would they be doing if they weren't a DFS player producing sports content? Throw that in the live show chat on the Discord. And we'll pick 2 people to win those $121 tickets, courtesy of Lycan and KCMO. So awesome stuff there. And we'll pick those at the end of the show. And I don't know if we'll be able to get those in time for the contest tonight, but we'll get those to you, of course, maybe for tomorrow's games. With that,
Beaner asked, what should we do for contest? You should just go to Discord with nothing. No, Beaner, do not do that. Please do not. I will have the live show chat open. You don't have to @ me 1,000 times. You don't have to @ Kevin or anyone. We'll have the live show chat open for you guys, and we'll be reading them off. So try to make it funny. Try to make it good. Try not to make it too over the line. Toe that line.
We got to skip the very first entry. We can't read that one on air. We're not going to. But hopefully the other ones will be a little bit better than that. Anything else to add on the contest here, Mangone?
No, I don't think anything else. Again, live show chat. We'll figure it out. And if you can't enter today, you'll be able to enter tomorrow. There's tons of MLB contests, and tonight's a fun slate. I like non-core slates a lot, especially when we get enough games. I hate when it's I actually didn't love the early slate, but I had a couple pitchers I liked enough, and I was like, I'll be able to get away with this slate. This slate should be fun. I don't have all my thoughts dialed in completely, but I'm hoping by the end of the show I have ideas, and curious to get your takes on some of it. I know you and I have talked a lot about on these shows pitching and trying to find ways to get different. Over the past week or so, I've really dug in to try to find ways to be different, and it's been successful. So I'm looking to kind of continue that success here.
Absolutely. We'll try to pick the winners tonight, as we always attempt to do. Frustrating night last night for me. I don't play pitchers in Coors Field very often. Cord Frankie Montas, I think I had him on 5 of my 10 555 entries, and managed 1 single min cash out of the 10 entries. So that was a little bit annoying, but that's how it goes sometimes. That's DFS for you. Anyway.
Yeah, by the way, Royals Guardians already X'd off the slate. So we got the postponement. It's already gone. Right. So that's kind of good news that we have to not even worry about that.
Yeah, the Guardians were my favorite stack. So I am a little bit disappointed in that, but is what it is. We're down to 8 games. And that was actually going to be the first game that we talked about, Kansas City and Cleveland, but it has been postponed. So we will move on to the next game, which does also start at that 6:40 Eastern time. It is Tampa Bay and the Miami Marlins here. The battle for Florida. Zach Eflin going to pitch for Tampa Bay, returning from injury. He's been out since May 18th. I know he's thrown a couple of bullpens. I haven't seen anything on a pitch limit, but I would assume the Rays will be somewhat cautious with them here. So, yeah, Eflin at 7,500. Good price point for him and good matchup, but I am worried certainly about the pitch count. He'll go up against Braxton Garrett, 7,600. So both these guys kind of in that mid-range. Garrett, a decent pitcher, can give you 80 to 90 pitches most times out. And has pitched pretty well, honestly, this year for the most part. Solid matchup for him. I do prefer righties against the Rays in general, but not a bad matchup for Braxton Garrett. I've got a pretty tight pitching pool tonight, but Garrett was one of the last cuts for me. Didn't quite make the list, or not going to make my final 5 lineups. But I'm not really interested in going to bats here either, Mangone. Kind of a game I'll be voting for the most part myself, but Tampa Bay and Miami, what do you got for us here, Mangone?
Yeah, let's see. Did the Rays do the all-righty lineup? No, they did not. Their lefties are both the Lowe's and Ben Rivera, or however you say his name. I actually liked Braxton Garrett a little bit here. I just felt like he was getting a little unlucky looking at some of the numbers. And one thing that I've been kind of trying to really emphasize lately is I don't want to spend up that much at pitcher for these like stud arms. To be fair, though, this slate, like the stud arm is Dylan Cease at 9.8, and then it's like Gilbert 9.2. And like, what's the difference between like 9.2 and like, Garrett at 7.6? It's not huge. It's not like these aren't like the guys that are 10K and up, right? There is a little bit of a difference there with that pricing. So I think Garrett's in the conversation. I don't think that Tampa Bay is that good. If we are looking at cheap pitching options, I mean, I think it's a little slim down here for sure. I think you can make some arguments for some of these pitchers, but I think Garrett's got to be in there for the upside that he provides. Like you said, he can go long enough too for us, which I think is really encouraging. I just think the ceiling is too good to kind of pass up on. And I think he's been getting a little unlucky. Not saying he's been bad, but some of the numbers show that. So I'm going to be on Braxton Garrett. I'm definitely going to have exposure to him. I don't know if he'll be my, guy that I'm most overweight on that you asked me at the end of the show, but he is someone that I definitely want to take a little bit of a stand on today.
Yeah, this did make me laugh. Big T wasn't doing run PR. I could definitely see him working with the NASCAR pit crew. I could see that as well. So it's got to be in the live show chat to qualify, but that's a pretty good one there from Jason Gordon. With you on Garrett, I do think he's in play. Again, I do have a little fear of the top of this Rays lineup, but yeah, in Miami, obviously a really, really strong place to pitch. Garrett makes some sense. Eflin, I just can't do with the pitch count where he's there.
I don't like Eflin either. We don't like the bats too here, right? I'm basically off the bats here on this slate. It's 8 games now, right, DC? Because I guess we got the other one off. And I think there's enough offense that I can find. And we talk about this all the time. I think it's important to mention. Talked about it in the Discord chat earlier today. There's a couple dome games, right? And then there was like all these hot weather games. Like we're getting to that point where Miami, I mean, they're closing that roof. You're not gonna be able to take advantage of that hot weather. And a lot of these games, we're definitely able to start doing that here. So I think it's another important mention with the bats in this game.
Yeah, I can't really see going to too many bats in that one for sure. With you 100% on avoiding the bats in Tampa Bay and Miami. Next up is the Dodgers and the Pittsburgh Pirates. This one in Pittsburgh. Where's the game? There it is. Paul Skeens pitching for the Pirates. Obviously, pretty tough matchup on paper here for Paul Skeens against the Dodgers team that, of course, is one of the better hitting teams in the league, led by that ridiculous top 5 in their lineup. Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, Will Smith, Teoscar Hernandez, all in there. It does really fall off a cliff. Their lineup does when you get away from the big bats from the Dodgers. And the Dodgers do have a relatively high team total here against Paul Skeens. I'm still absolutely willing to use Skeens, though. In my opinion, the most electric starting pitcher in baseball right now. And pitchers like this, there's only really a few of them in the league. I worry less about the matchups for guys like Paul Skeens, who I think can, on his day, if he's locating well, I think he can really mow down any hitter, any lineup, including the Dodgers. So I like Paul Skeens here, 8,800. I mean, it's just too low of a price tag for his talent, right? You can argue the matchup if you want, but man, there's no question he is way higher than than an $8,800 talent. I think he's an 11K talent, right up there with any pitcher in baseball. So I like him at 8,800 at home here against the Dodgers. And then James Paxton pitching for the Dodgers. He's been, in my estimation, maybe the luckiest pitcher in baseball so far. He's actually, against right-handed batters in particular, he's actually walked more than he struck out, which is a pretty absurd stat at this point in the season. I kind of like these Pirates stacks, these right-handed bats against Paxton. Biggest problem with them, Mangone, is the park. It just kind of sucks in Pittsburgh, especially for right-handed power. So that's kind of what you're looking for against Paxton is, those home runs, pulled home runs, left field. And it's just a tough park for that. But everything else I kind of like for the Pirates. They are cheap. You can play stud pitchers with them. So I'm in on the Pirates and in on Paul Skeens. I like the Pirates side of this one. Where you stand, Dodgers and Pirates?
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the Pirates side as well. I just think Paxton just straight up sucks. I know he's had it in the past, but he's just not good anymore. So
no.
I think you have to like some of these Pirates righties. I wouldn't say I'd be dying to full on 5-man them. It does feel like a team that maybe just won't completely explode, but I have to like the Pirates. They're definitely in the conversation today for sure. The Dodgers are another tough one just because I think, I don't think the Dodgers get owned today. So if the Dodgers aren't owned, I've talked about this on shows. If you can get the Dodgers at 0 ownership, I mean, it's got to at least be a conversation point where it's okay, yeah. I think it's not crazy to play. And then 2, let's talk about Skeens a little bit because I think he's just gonna 8-8 is just too cheap for him. I know the matchup's not the easiest. I looked at some of the numbers and it's a small sample. That's a lot of the pitchers I looked at today have some small sample sizes, which was a little tough, but he's just elite, right? I mean, 8.8K, he can get the job done. And I doubt there's going to be that much ownership on him today. I think people will just gravitate towards other pitchers that are in this range. So are you seeing similar, DC, not a lot of ownership on Skeens?
Sabres got Skeens at as the third highest owned pitcher at 30%. I mean, this guy's got a lot of hype behind him. I think that can play into it a little bit. Yeah. They see the price tag. Now, you make that point out. I think the point you're trying to make, people don't really play pitchers against the Dodgers in general. And, he's not a favorite. They do have a reasonable team total. So I can kind of see your argument as well. I will say, though, there's just not that many good pitching options, in my opinion, on this slate. So I do think Skeens will get some ownership. Around 30% sounds about right to me, but I don't have a problem playing him at that. I'm going to play. Playing 5 lineups tonight. I'll have Skeens on at least 2 of them. I'm just big fan of his, obviously.
Yeah, that sounds right. If I was playing just 5, I think that's what I would do too. So, yeah, I kind of like that number. I'd probably just be either a little overweight or just slightly with the field on Skeens and kind of call it a day. Because again, I think he's good, but I don't love targeting the Dodgers. I think there's other spots I'd rather get a little more overweight on as well. And I am trying to stay away from spending up for pitchers as much. I know I talked about it earlier. It's not you're spending for these Peralta.
Welcome to the dark side, Mangone. It's good to have you on the punt pitching team.
I'm definitely on punt pitching team. Especially when I slammed Miles Mikolas today a little bit. So, yeah. So overall, game. I like the Pirates for bats. Dodgers. You could talk me into them, but I think more one-offs. Taking in Ohtani. Here's one other question, just because I was looking at something and I noticed there was a good number on Ohtani stolen bases. Can you steal on Skeens? Is that a thing or no?
It's hard to know because he doesn't have many, this innings pitched at the professional level. And in the minor leagues, he didn't allow any base runners whatsoever. Yeah. So I honestly don't really know for sure. Okay,
that's fine. There's this. Yeah. I've been making these super really long shot bets on some baseball stuff. And yesterday I had I think Jack Sawinski to hit 2 home runs at 170 to 1. And when he hit the first, I was oh man, we're looking good. And then it didn't get there. There's these ones that are just plus EV, really deep bets. And one of them I noticed was Ohtani stolen bases at over 1.5. And it was 41 to 1, which just seems like a I don't know. Doesn't seem like the worst idea if Skeens ends up being that guy.
Yeah, I did just look it up. Minor leagues and major leagues combined, he's faced 189 hitters overall. Basically, there's not a single stolen base allowed and 3 caught stealings. So
I'll just stay away. Again, I figured it's like it could be some bullshit numbers in the system based on it just being like a new guy and it's Ohtani, right? So yeah, okay, cool.
I do agree with you. I think Ohtani at, I don't know, 2 or 3% owned or something like that, probably against Skeens, does make some sense. I mean, Skeens is going to get a strikeouts. Doesn't mean someone can't tag one of those fastballs. If Ohtani gets one, it's going. It doesn't matter, especially with the heat that Skeens brings. So, yeah, I don't mind that.
Especially a guy like Ohtani. Like, if you think about him, like, he was like a young electric pitcher coming up, right? He might be able to see something with like the way he's pitching and be like, oh, he's gonna, he's a young guy with an ego. He might fuck up here.
Yeah, I don't know. Ohtani's gonna be, intimidated by the matchup or anything like that. He'll be swinging for the fences for sure. So I don't mind that call. Let's get to the next game on the slate, though. Minnesota and the New York Yankees. A lot of good messages in chat on what we'd be doing if we weren't DFS dudes. So we'll keep those rolling in. We'll pick a couple funny ones already, some really good submissions. Good topic, Mango. Good job coming up with that one. But we have the Minnesota, New York Yankees up next. Yankees pretty big favorites in this one, sitting around minus 180 behind the lefty Carlos Rodon. It will be Chris Paddock pitching for the Minnesota Twins. Paddock's been kind of up and down this year. He's had some pretty strong starts, but he does seem to have a bit of a home run problem. 11 home runs given up already on the year in 11 starts. Pretty high rate there. Fly ball pitcher kind of in general. And we obviously know what this Yankees team can do, led by, of course, Soto and Judge. In my opinion, the best offense in baseball right now against right-handed pitching. So no interest in Paddock for me. Good price tag, but I just can't do it against this Yankees squad. And then Carlos Rodon, he's been good this year too. He's I honestly haven't played him too much. He's owned me on that for the most part, but I'm not giving in, Mango. And I'm not playing Carlos Rodon today. I do think he'll be somewhat popular here. Looking at Sabres ownership, they've got Rodon at as the second highest, just ahead of Paul Skeens. Come on, we're really playing Carlos Rodon over Paul Skeens. I'm personally not. So I do think this Twins team, I don't think we have the lineup for them quite yet, but you can guess what it's going to be. It's going to be a heavily right-handed lineup. I think it'll be 9 right-handers in the lineup for Minnesota, and they're starting to get some guys that can really hit lefties. I mean, they had a few already. Correa, Jeffers are good guys against lefties, but they got Buxton back recently. Jose Miranda is someone who swings against lefties well. He's swinging a good bat. And then they got Royce Lewis back yesterday. I assume he'll be in the lineup as well. So I don't love this matchup right now for lefties against the Minnesota Twins. And I actually don't mind taking some of these Twins right-handed power bats against Rodon. You got to be careful with some of these guys on the pinch hit stuff. But the guys I mentioned, Correa, Miranda, Jeffers, Lewis, Buxton, I think should all be, pretty safe plays in general to stay in the game the whole time. So I like those guys a little bit. It is a pretty tough bullpen coming out there from the Yankees after Rodon. But, yeah, I still think this Twins team is an interesting contrarian stack. I'm not going for Rodon myself. But where do you stand, Mango? We are going to see ownership on Rodon. I get it. But I'm going to stay stubborn and go a different direction myself. Where do you stand, Yankees and Twins?
Yeah, you and I both have been stubborn on Rodon. Now it's cue up the GIF, right? I'm not fucking leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not playing Carlos. No, there's no chance. No chance in hell I'm playing him. Especially if like Paul Skeens for $400 more. I'm arm in arm with you on that. I definitely agree. I think I told you this. Remember when Royce Lewis got hurt? I said I'm not playing the Twins for a while. I'll play him when Royce Lewis is back. Well, he's back. I think they're very interesting here. I also think Rodon is one of those guys that he finds his way out of jams a lot, and it's not always going to work out. There's going to be days where when it doesn't work, he's going to get his ass absolutely kicked in. And with the Twins not getting a lot of ownership, I'm in on this. I think it makes a lot of sense, especially with the leverage we're going to get with Rodon's ownership being so high. I think you have to like the Twins here. Now, be careful with who and how you roster them. Sometimes I just X out the 5-man because I'm just like, it's just too much of these guys. But I think overall, we got to play the Twins. I think they're going to be good here. We don't have the lineup yet. So we'll circle back at the end of the show and discuss like who the guys are that we're worried about, I guess, based on the lineup. But I have to like them. And I'm with you on Paddock. Like if Paddock was going up against like an easier offense, I think I'd be highly interested. But against this Yankees team right now, there's just no chance. Like every single day when I make my teams, I look, and typically one new thing I started doing with the optimizer a little bit, DC, that you might like is let's say I play like 20 teams. I'll use the opto for like 15, and then like 5 of my other ones, I'll be like, all right, here's a Yankee stack, and I'll like throw that and make sure I get it, right? That way I don't have to manipulate it in my optimizer runs and stuff. And so the Yankees might be one of those teams that I go in and I make sure if I'm not getting any, I'm going to make sure it jams them in there. Like I'm going to make sure I have at least, a couple stacks in there because I think the Yankees, they deserve it right now. And I want to keep playing them. And I've been playing them and they've been good. And I'm just going to ride this streak until it dies out. And I'm okay with it. So got to like the Yankees here for sure.
I was big on Soto and Judge yesterday. They let me down a little bit, especially Soto, but back in, I mean, these guys are just on another level. I'm not scared of Chris Paddock, and I would expect the Yankees to do some damage via the long ball today. They're just – go ahead.
Yeah, I want to add, I thought of this yesterday. I thought it was funny. If you talked to like boomers 10 years ago, right, and you told the boomers Alex Verdugo was the 4-hitter on the Yankees, and they have Judge in the 2-hole and Soto, or Soto in the 2-hole and Judge in the 3-hole, boomers would freak out, right? I just was laughing looking at this Yankees lineup and seeing Alex Stan Verdugo in the 4-hole.
Yeah, it is a little weird they don't have Stanton up there, but yeah, I mean, I think the Yankees going to do some damage here with Paddock, and actually like one-offs in this game just from both sides. Obviously, the Yankees, are elite one-offs with the power every night, but even with the Twins, if you're not full stacking, you don't need to. I do think, people aren't going to play them, and if Rodon's going to get hurt, I think it is going to be via the long ball to those right-handed power bats. So, yeah, I think the Twins make sense. You can full stack them, but I do like guys like Correa, Lewis, Jeffers, Miranda, Buxton, all 5 of those guys as pretty good one-off plays, assuming they're all in the lineup tonight. That is Minnesota and the New York Yankees. Next game on the slate, Baltimore and Toronto. This one in Toronto, we have Albert Suarez pitching for the Orioles. I've been pretty high on Suarez. Used him last time out. He was decent enough against Tampa Bay. I think he's actually a pretty good pitcher. I don't necessarily want to use him tonight against this Blue Jays team who, listen, they're not a great offense, but they do a really good job of putting the ball in play. And, strikeouts they're kind of everything when you're chasing DFS points, DraftKings points. So I don't think I'm using Suarez here. I don't think he's the worst play, but just worry a little bit about the strikeout upside. And then Jose Barrios going for the Blue Jays. He does have the home thing going for him. He's got just a weird thing where he's way better at home pretty much every year of his career, including this one. But I still can't use him against this Orioles squad with all this lefty power, which is exactly what you want against Barrios. So we do get to Baltimore here, who I do think, like most nights, I like them when they're contrarian. Just the top of the lineup, Henderson, Rushman, Mountcastle hit 2 home runs yesterday. O'Hearn can crush righties, Santana, like up and down this lineup, I think make for pretty good plays against Barrios. So definitely out on Barrios. Suarez, if I was playing more lineups, I would have some exposure there, but probably won't get there on my 5 lineups personally. And then the Orioles side of this game for bats is what I like best. It is pretty much a toss-up in the betting market. Total sitting at 8. Both teams projected for 4 runs. What are your thoughts here, man, going Baltimore and Toronto?
Yeah, Baltimore and Toronto is definitely an intriguing game. Baltimore's a team I just think you play right now. Like I'm just playing them. It's kind of like the Yankees. I'm going to make sure I jam in some Baltimore, even if it doesn't like conventionally fall based on how I run some stuff. I want Baltimore on my teams. I think they're hitting the ball too well. Barrios, when he does blow up, it can be a disaster. And I do think there is some negative regression coming his way. So I want to take some chances on that. Are people going to play Barrios? I feel like he always gets some ownership, and that just seems egregious. We saw it with Gaussman recently.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
You're right. 15% or so projected by Saber.
I'm just saying it's like more than like it should be. This was like Gaussman the other day. Like people were playing Gaussman. I'm like, why are people playing Gaussman? I did not understand it. And I just played Baltimore. And it feels just like not the exact same spot, but just very similar to the other day. So I'm definitely gonna have exposure to Baltimore here. The Blue Jays, Albert Suarez, I looked at some of his stuff. Sample size seemed a little small to kind of make some decisions on it. And I don't know, like I just don't like this Toronto team that much. Weather's probably hot. Oh no, it's in Toronto, so it's not in Baltimore. So you're not getting the hot weather. I don't know if the roof is open or anything like that, but I don't know. I just want to be lower on Toronto, I think, right now for a little while. I don't mind Varsho a little bit. I think like just maybe taking some stabs at like the lefties, but just a very right-handed heavy lineup. And I don't know. I don't like Suarez and I don't love Toronto. Do you have any real takes on Toronto? Because I don't feel like super confident in that, but I think they'll get ownership like a little bit. And I just think there's other spots I'd rather just use my plays on.
Yeah, I think they will get some ownership, Toronto. I actually think Suarez is one of the more underrated pitchers. Now, it's not that I think he's that great, but I think just the general opinion on him is not super high. You could see it in this last game. I mean, nobody played him against the Rays. I wish there were more strikeouts in this Blue Jays lineup, and I would go to Suarez. That's the thing I'm most worried about with him. I do think he is at least a decent play. We got a BVP stat, Rushman 12 for 19 off of Jose Barrios lifetime. That's a pretty good mark. So, yeah. I mean, left-handed power in general plays pretty well against Barrios. So, yeah, Rushman I think makes sense. Gunnar Henderson just ridiculous right now. And then Ryan O'Hearn would be my third favorite play there against Barrios if you are trying to get a little bit of leverage against the field. Does make sense for me.
When you run your Orioles stacks, right? You want to make sure it doesn't have like 4 or 5 like righties or like you just want to make sure you're getting those lefties in there. That's something that I've been eyeballing a lot with like my stacks lately is like, am I getting the right things in there, right? Like I remember the other day, JT talked about Mark Vientos and liking him and I wanted exposure and I ran some of my Mets stuff and I didn't have it. And I said, okay, X these out until I get some Vientos teams. And then I eventually got them. So these are little things that I've been trying to tweak a little bit in my process that I think have been kind of valuable. Because like you could run a Yankee stack and not have like I've ran them before and I've seen no Judge and no Soto. And I'm like, why am I playing this? This is a terrible team. Like it's just not worth it.
Yeah, I've kind of traded off. You know, I try both, but building like the 5 lineups each night where I can really kind of hone in on getting the exact players in the stack that I want, that type of thing. I've had a little bit more success playing that way than just letting the optimizer run. And, you know, sometimes it just doesn't spit out what you want to. So I do like
I've tried to find that happy medium like you, right? Where I don't want to just throw dead money in there where I'm just like throwing these stacks that I don't think can work. But I also don't want to be biased too. I want to embrace some really weird plays as well. So I'm trying to find that happy medium. And sometimes you run the teams and you're just like, this one won't work. There's other ones that will, right? Like it's not like for instance, like an Angel stack can win almost on any day. But if I'm going to play the Angel stack, let me make sure I play it correctly, right? It's just trying to do that. So try to embrace the unknown, but also make sure you're not spitting out stupid teams at the same time.
For sure. We'll keep it moving then. That's Baltimore, Toronto. What do we got? 4 more games to talk about. The next one up is Chicago White Sox and Chicago Cubs. We did see the brief rain delay last night. Stevie Storms defeated the Chat and did slow that game down a little bit. They did eventually play it. Looks like another pretty friendly game for hitting conditions though in Wrigley. Moderately strong winds out to right center field. We have Eric Fetty and Jameson Taillon on the mound. I know Fetty's been good. I think these are 2 kind of mediocre-ish arms pitching here, and I like the left-handed power here in general, really from both sides. That's the way the wind's blowing out to right field, and both these guys, I think, are way more susceptible to left-handed bats. So the White Sox don't have many to target. I do like Gavin Sheets and Oscar Colas, who's hitting in the 6 hole. He's 2K, can provide some savings if you're trying to get in the stud pitching. And then haven't seen the Cubs lineup yet, but assuming it's as expected, Talkman, Bellinger, Ian Happ, maybe Michael Busch all make for pretty strong plays as well. So I like the offense here. I know some people might use Tyone against the White Sox, which, listen, I get it. You got to at least look at any pitcher against the Chicago White Sox, in my opinion. I don't think I'm going there tonight. I don't think it's the worst play, just like other spots a little bit better. But where do you stand, man, going White Sox and the Chicago Cubs? You're muted, man.
Sorry.
Come on.
I agreed with your take on the White Sox stuff. So I think, like, when you look at this White Sox lineup, one guy you didn't mention, I know it's a gross play, is I think you can put Nicky Lopez into the conversation just because he's a punt second baseman. It's not because I think he's a good hitter or anything like that. It's the punting second base allows a lot for you to do for your lineups, and it's more in mini stacks, right? If you want to go those lefties like you talked about, I've put Nicky Lopez in there, a Gavin Sheets, an Oscar Colas. I think putting them in there is fine. A Luis Robert. I know you hate that saying, but that's how I call him. So Mr. Robert, I'd put in the conversation. And I don't even hate Corey Julks, but I'm not, and I know I just mentioned 5 White Sox, but I'm not dying to play 5 White Sox. I'd rather look for more of the minis and like mix those guys around. I think that's the way to really play the White Sox here. The Cubs, we do not have the lineup yet. I think that is very critical. I will admit I am definitely an Eric Fetty truther. I want him to do well here. He is 8-1. Wind blowing out. I want to see what that lineup's going to look like. I think you can make the case that this is a spot where I consider playing both sides. I might consider playing Eric Fetty, and I also might consider playing this Cubs team. I just think no one's going to play Eric Fetty at that ownership, and I just think it might be worth taking the chance on. So I've been playing him a lot at low ownership, and it's done well throughout the season. And no one's going to play him, right? I mean, it's just, I think it's worth taking a shot on. So I didn't see a lot when I looked into like his metrics and stuff on like any positive regression, but the numbers aren't terrible. This guy's not a gas can anymore. And the Cubs, I mean, this team was great in the first month, and then they've been absolute shit since. And I just think he's worth taking a shot on. So he will be a low-owned pitcher that I want to be overweight on today.
I mean, the Cubs, I think, have the highest team. Yeah, they do have the highest team total on the board, with obviously the win playing a factor in that. Sure. But yeah, I mean, Fetty's been good. He's 8,100, and I mean, I think you're going to get him at like 1% owned or something. So yeah, you know me, I do enjoy a good 1% owned pitcher. So I don't hate that play. I probably won't get there myself, but it does make
1% owned pitcher is fun, especially when I had my highest owned pitcher on Sunday was Andrew Heaney, and it felt gross, but he was like literally like 0.3% or so. It was insane. So it was good times in the streets with Andrew Heaney. So I definitely like embracing these like low owned pitchers a little bit more.
It definitely will work out more than 1% of the time if you ran the Sims or whatever. So I think I don't hate it from that perspective at least. But yeah, probably not going to get there on my 5 lineups. I do like the Cubs quite a bit here. Let's get to Detroit and Texas next. We got 2 real bad pitchers going at it here. We got the corpse of Kenta Maeda. He's been awful all year. In my opinion, just has not a lot left in the tank at this point. He'll take on the Texas Rangers, and then Jose Urena, who has been bad for a number of years, including this one. His results this year are a little bit better than they typically are, but still a pitcher that you want to target against. Unfortunately, not many Tigers bats are all that interesting, in my opinion. I looked at potentially playing Urena here just because of the matchup with the Tigers. I do think he'll get at least a little bit of ownership, but ultimately, I just don't trust this guy. They pulled him early last game. I think that is in play anytime he's on the mound because he's just not very good. So no Maeda, no Urena for me. Definitely would be on the Urena side of it if I had to choose one. And then I think the Texas bats are pretty interesting here against Maeda. What about you, man, going Detroit and Texas?
Yeah, the one argument you can make about Maeda is he does have, like, when it goes right, it goes really right, right? It goes wrong, it goes really wrong. Like, the upside is there for him at the cheap price. I don't know. I can't really get behind any of these pitchers. The more I think about these guys, it's like I'd rather play Braxton Garrett for more ownership. I'd rather maybe play another guy that I'll get to later who's cheaper. So even like a Suarez, like you probably talked me in a little bit more of him. So I think I'll just stay away from both these pitchers. Doesn't mean I'm going to the bats that much. I think the Texas bats I like a little. I don't love the 5-man. It's probably just more attacking the power bats like a Seager and a Dallas Garcia in like one-off scenarios. I'm not dying to 5-man Texas today, I don't think. But you can make the argument with Kenta Maeda when it goes bad, right? There's the walk issue, and I know walks obviously can lead to bigger innings. So maybe I should consider the 5-man of Texas a little bit more. And the Tigers, I think I'm just going to X here. Like, I know you said Jose Urena has been bad for years, but the guy still is in the league and always finds a way to get through things. So I'm kind of leaning just Xing off the Tigers completely today.
Yeah, the Tigers have a couple bats. Riley Green, I think, is the best play on the Tigers. They do have, assuming he's in the lineup, Justin Henry Malloy, prospect of some note. He's 2K if he needs some savings. And then Colt Keith and Winslow Perez would be the other two guys that I would at least consider from the Tigers if you do want to go up against Urena, which, is generally a pretty good idea. It's just these bats are unexciting for the most part. That is Detroit and the Texas Rangers. Two more games to talk about as we get out to the West Coast, San Diego, and the LA Angels up next. Jose Soriano pitching for the Angels. I was on him in his last start. I know quite a few people were against the Mariners. That did not end up working out. He is a very electric arm, but obviously a very volatile one as well. Don't love the matchup for him here against the Padres, who do a really good job of putting the ball in play. So no, not a ton. I guess I wouldn't say no, but not a ton of interest for me in Soriano. I do think he's got some upside at 7,300. But the story of this game, I think, will be Dylan Cease, who I think will almost certainly be the highest owned pitcher on this slate. In my opinion, rightfully so. He's one of the better strikeout artists in baseball. And he gets this Angels team that they can do some damage against left-handed pitching. Against right-handed pitching, though, it's just a lot of strikeouts, not a lot of punch. And I do think Dylan Cease, on paper at least, should be in line for a big game here. Good chalk, I think, on Dylan Cease. Not that you have to play him, but I do think he is certainly a pretty good way to go. Talk to us, Mangone. Cease versus Soriano, Padres, and Angels.
Yeah, I think you sound higher on Cease than I do today. I'm sure I'll just naturally have some. Like, for instance, I wasn't super high on Aaron Nola on the early slate, but I was like, I'll just probably naturally have some, but I'll probably just be more even with the field on him. I just don't. There's another guy that we'll get to. I like Logan Gilbert more. It's just simple. I'd rather take Logan Gilbert and have more ownership on him than I would on Dylan Cease. That's just my reasoning. So I don't like I think Cease could have some bad regression coming his way. I think this Angels team has been a little bit more pesky, and I think Logan Gilbert's just going to show up tonight. So that's kind of my reasoning there. I don't totally hate the idea of like playing Soriano as a cheap pitcher because of his upside, but I'd be careful with this matchup. Like, I like the Padres a ton. Like, I think the Padres are in a really good spot. We know that we like to take them when they're going up against a right-handed pitcher. They got some good lefties in their lineup. Their righties are just really good hitters in general. Like, this is just a spot where the Padres should have a lot of success, in my opinion. I know it's not in the greatest park, but I think you have to like the Padres on this slate. I think they're good. You can make the case for Soriano. There's cheaper pitchers that I prefer that we've mentioned, but I wouldn't totally rule out Soriano today if someone liked them. And then the Angels offense, I think I would like them more if we had more spend-up pitchers, right? If you had the Chris Sales of the world on the slate at 11K, I think you talk me more into the Angels. I just don't know if I need them. So if I play Angels, it's probably more as mini stacks and just trying to take advantage of like the hard hit rate that Dylan Cease has. And when he does get hit hard, it's going to be home runs from some of these options. So who could the guys be? It could obviously be a Nolan Chanel. He's one of the options. The lineup just came out, so I wanted to kind of go over it. Give me 1 second. Actually, a bunch of lineups just came out. So it'd be Chanel. It'd be Willie Calhoun. I always like him. Logan O'Hoppe. I wouldn't mind getting there. So, or maybe one of those punt like Nitos or Paris. You could make a case for them, especially Paris at that second base spot that just sucks. And then the two lineups that came out, DC, I guess you could discuss the Twins. They got Manuel Margot, Correa, Jeffers, Lewis, Miranda, Buxton, Cashner. Which guys are you most concerned with there?
So it's Margot and Farmer, I believe. Yeah, for sure are the two riskiest. I think pretty much everyone else should be safe. Yeah, I would expect everyone else to stay in there. Maybe Carlos Santana could come out. But Margot and Farmer, so the leadoff hitter and the ninth place hitter, I think will almost certainly be pinch hit for at some point in that game once Rodon exits. It would be those two guys. And I got to give it to you, Mangone. That was impressive. I think you managed to mispronounce 4 names in the Angels lineup in one fell swoop there. So Nolan Shanuel.
Okay, Shanuel. Okay, I haven't watched any Angels games this year for what it's worth. So Nolan Shanuel.
Logan O'Hoppe. You got to add the E on there, not just O'Hoppe.
So I heard you say that the other day, and I was like, he's got to be wrong. It's really O'Hoppe. That seems so weird.
Yeah, it's O'Hoppe. And then Zach Neto, not Nito. Okay. There you go.
Yeah. That's one that was a coin flip, and I lost every coin flip I could have lost there. So there you go.
I won't correct you every time because these shows would last 6 hours if we did, but there you go.
Well, there's one more lineup we got to go through, DC. The Cubs lineup came out, so I'll at least mention that because I know
you want to read it to us.
Yeah, I'll read it to you. You can hear me butcher everything. So Tauchman, Suzuki, Bellinger, Morel, Happ, Horner, Bush, Swanson, and Mr. Yan Gomes. I think I got them all right
there. Yeah, not bad there. We'll give you a passing grade on the Cubs lineup. All right. That's kind of as expected. I do like those lefty bats, as we mentioned, on the Cubs. Let's get to Seattle and Oakland to end this, to wrap up these games. We'll, of course, do the stacks and pitchers and all that. At the end of the show, it is Logan Gilbert pitching for the Mariners. Again, going to be one of the top 3, I think, highest owned pitchers on this slate. He's been a little bit shaky recently. After a monster start to the season, I would expect him to get it back on track tonight in a really, really good matchup against the A's. I know they've had some games where they've busted the chalk, but in general, this is a team you want to target. A lot of strikeouts to be had. Obviously, a good place to pitch as well in Oakland. So, yeah, Gilbert, I think you said you liked him a little bit more than Cease. I think it's close between the two. I do think Gilbert is the safer of the two slightly, but I certainly do like both guys. And then Mitch Spence let us down yesterday against the Mariners in the same matchup. But I'm going back to it with Joey Estes, who I think is a decent enough arm to play, especially at this price tag, 6,400. I really don't like most of these cheaper pitchers tonight. So Estes is the guy that I like best. If you need some salary savings to get in, the Judges and Sotos of the world, which both of us do like to do. So I like Estes some here. Again, like these, he's not a great pitcher. These guys are never safe, but at 6,400, I do think he's a pretty strong play tonight. I will certainly have him in at least a couple of my own lineups. And then, I don't know, I'm not really going to many bats here, I don't think. Just a tough place to hit in Oakland. But what about you, Seattle and Oakland, to wrap it up?
Yeah, it'll probably wrap up quick because it's 0 bats here. Like, I have no interest in them. I really like Gilbert, like I talked about before. I just think this is, he'll probably, I guess, he'll be one of the guys I really want to get a lot of overweight on. Estes is another one that I think is really intriguing. Like there's a couple offenses that are like we have to consider in these, or there's a couple offenses that when there's a pitcher against them, we just have to have the conversation. And Seattle's one of them. It's like, do we play X pitcher, whoever it is? I don't know who it is, but whoever it is, do we play them? And today it's Estes. And, Estes' numbers did look pretty good from some of the stuff that I looked at. We talked about embracing some of these, shitty pitchers and diving deep into the well to be able to play the Yankees and the Orioles and all these good bats, right? If I want to play Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, I need a cheap pitcher. Joey Estes is going to help do that. So I'm on the Estes train today. First start against Seattle was pretty good. He got 22. I'm not asking for 22, Joey. I'll take 15. I'll take the Miles Mikolas 16.6 or whatever and move on with my slate. So I think he's got to be in the conversation here, pitching in a pretty good ballpark in Oakland. And there's just a lot of strikeouts in this Seattle lineup. So I like Estes a lot as value, and I like Gilbert.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff's got to be in play. I know Mitch Spence cost me some cheese yesterday, but I'll be going back to the same matchup. It's pretty much the same thing against Estes. If you're on Spence yesterday, even though it didn't work out, I think we got to go back to the well on this one. I know I certainly will be. All right, man, let's get to stacks, pitchers, home runs, offensive players. Before we do that, let's pick a couple winners in the live show chat for the competition. What would the RPS brass be doing if not doing DFS content? Ooh, there's some good options here. Do you have a winner? I think we can each pick one to give away.
I'm torn because I do like the NASCAR pit crew one. Like I don't know if I want to steal yours. If that's yours, you can take it and I can pick another. But I feel like that's a consensus. We picked that one, correct?
That's a good one. Yeah, let's give it to that one for that's King Jason there. Wasn't doing run beers, working at the NASCAR pit crew. We put it in chat too, but yeah, that's a winner. So that's one winner.
I mean, I think one I don't mind, but you can veto if you want. I think the JSU reffing for midget wrestling would be really funny. I think that's a funny idea. But what are some of the ones you like? Because there's a lot in there.
Or he could be the midget wrestler. But yes, he could ref the midget wrestling. That could work. Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with JSU reffing midget wrestling. I like that one. So that is the two winners. We've got King Jason 1, and who's the other guy? Who did the?
It's Gonzo 7223.
Yeah. So if you guys are watching, go ahead and DM me, and I'll get you hooked up with what you need to do to get those 121 tickets. Probably can use them on tomorrow's slate. All right, let's do the favorite contrarian stack. My favorite overall stack on this slate is actually going to be the Cubs against Eric Fetty, who I don't quite believe in. The Cubs total's been climbing. Looks like really, really good hitting weather in Wrigley Field. So they will be my favorite. And favorite contrarian, I'm going with the Twins against Carlos Rodon. I like that right-handed power against Rodon. Over to you, Mangone. Favorite stack, favorite contrarian stack.
Yeah, love the calls there. Favorite stack, we're going to the team. We're not going to the Padres, the fathers. We're going to the team that they're the father of the Minnesota Twins, the New York Yankees. We're going with them. They're going to be top overall stack. They own them, and they are going to own Chris Paddock today. So that would be my number one.
They have owned the Twins for like 2 generations of players. It's been absolutely nuts. Twins can't do anything against the Yankees, and I'm with you. I think the Yankees could absolutely do some damage.
Yeah, when the Yankees win today, I'm gonna have to tweet out the Maury gif, like you are the father. I'll have to see if I can get a Photoshop. That'd be a good one. My contrarian stack will be the Baltimore Orioles. I just don't see anyone playing them against Berrios. We talked about him getting not a lot of ownership, but some ownership. So I'll smash in these Orioles lefties, and hopefully they can take flight tonight.
Love it. Most important pitcher for me, going to be Mr. Paul Skeens against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Hopefully the matchup will hold ownership down a little bit. But yeah, this guy is just electric. And I'm certainly a sucker for these younger, high velocity arms in general. But Skeens, in my eyes, absolutely the real deal. I think he's capable of mowing down any lineup, including this Dodgers one. So Paul Skeens going to be my most important pitcher tonight. Potential weather issues in Pittsburgh, so do watch that. But assuming it's good to go, Paul Skeens is the guy for me. What about you, Mangone? Your most important pitcher tonight?
Yeah, I'll be flipping the projections on Dylan Cease and Logan Gilbert. Give me more Logan Gilbert. That's the guy that's going to be a huge stand for me. Sure, he'll be owned, but I want to be double, triple the field on Gilbert. I just think this is too good of a spot, and I think he should be the SP1 while everyone thinks it's Dylan Cease. I think it's Logan Gilbert.
All right, in on Gilbert as well over here. Who's going yard today? Give us a home run call, Mangone.
Home run call. Okay. Let's go with Mr. Gunnar Henderson. Leads it off with a nice bomb against Jose Berrios. Hopefully we get the disaster Jose Berrios game.
Love the Gunnar call. I will go with Jose Miranda, hitting 5th today for the Twins, third base, 3,400 off of Carlos Rodon. Not most important, but just your favorite overall hitter on the slate once you take into account ownership and position and all that good stuff.
Oh, taking it. Okay, so if taking out ownership and position, you know who I'm going to go with? I'm going to go with someone that is also on the Twins. Let's go with Royce Lewis. I think he's going to be low owned at the position. He's got some really good upside. I was going to say Aaron Judge, but he's just getting so much ownership right now. So we think about the ownership a little bit. We'll go with Royce Lewis. He'll be the guy.
Yeah, unfortunately, can't play Royce Lewis and Miranda on the same lineup, but I do like both guys a ton.
You can on FanDuel, DC, FanDuel.com. They got you covered.
On FanDuel.com. Maybe I will tonight. Let's go with my favorite overall hitter on the slate. We are going to go to the Cubbies, and we're going to go with Mr. Ian Happ. Again, hitting in the fifth hole, 3,800, pretty cheap against Eric Fetty, and should be able to benefit from that wind in Chicago. That'll do it for this show. I believe we have a small early slate tomorrow, but I think the show should be at the normal time. So I'm sure we'll see a bunch of you guys there. Congrats to the winners of the contest. We'll get you those tickets for tomorrow's contest. And we'll see a bunch of you guys then, of course. That'll do it for us. For Mr. Travis Mangone, I'm DC. We're out of here.